By the late 1890s, the British Empire controlled roughly a quarter of the globe. They had industrialized the world and built a sprawling naval fleet, operating under the absolute certainty that they sat at the top of the global food chain, an apex predator possessing total cultural and biological supremacy. H.G. Wells challenged this Victorian arrogance in 1898 with the publication of The War of the Worlds. The Martian arrival starts quite sweet. Astronomers notice strange, luminous bursts on the surface of Mars, followed by a massive metallic cylinder crashing into the dirt of Horsell Common, just outside London. A vastly older, highly evolved intelligence crawls out of that crater, creatures fleeing a cooling, dying planet. A global superpower that built its identity on conquering other nations is suddenly forced to confront a colonizer far more powerful than itself. The visitors skip diplomacy. When a curious crowd gathers around the pit, a mirrored device rises from the crater and sweeps the onlookers with an invisible heat ray, turning flesh and bone to ash in a fraction of a second. The British military is routed almost immediately. Telegraph lines go dead, rail networks jam, and millions flee London on foot, leaving the capital completely abandoned. Humanity drops from apex species to helpless prey in a matter of days. In this collapse, Wells tests the traditional societal archetypes that a civilization normally relies on for its survival. The novel functions as a deliberate teardown of Victorian archetypes. Each figure expected to save the day is given a moment in the spotlight, and fails. The astronomer Ogilvy represents the first failure, science. He investigates the initial landing, assuming Martian biology cannot function under Earth's heavy gravity. Ogilvy approaches the crater with a white flag of diplomacy, but the Martians vaporize him instantly. The second failed hero is religion, embodied by a local curate who ends up trapped in a ruined house alongside the narrator. The clergyman suffers a complete mental and spiritual collapse. He views the invasion as the apocalypse, and his manic screaming eventually forces the narrator to strike him unconscious to avoid being heard by the aliens outside. Neither intellectual reasoning nor spiritual faith provides protection against a truly ruthless colonizer. The final defense strategy is brute force. The British Army sets up heavy field artillery, managing to score a lucky direct hit on one of the walking machines early in the conflict. There is one moment of conventional heroism. The ironclad torpedo ram, the HMS Thunderchild, destroys 2 tripods before sinking, allowing refugee ships to escape. This noble sacrifice is sharply contrasted by a surviving artilleryman. He pitches an elaborate vision of building a subterranean resistance army in the London sewers, but he proves lazy and delusional, preferring to drink in the dirt rather than take action. Conventional military strategy proves ineffective in this new power dynamic, leaving humanity defenseless against total collapse. With the traditional heroes destroyed, the story shifts its focus to the unnamed narrator, a philosopher whose only goal is to find his wife. He avoids the role of the conquering warrior, focusing instead on basic survival, starving, hiding in dark coal cellars, and running for his life. This Graph the Worlds redefined the sci-fi protagonist by replacing the myth of the savior with the reality of family survival. The narrator eventually wanders into a ruined, silent London to find the Martian tripods motionless in the street. The Martian invaders have all died. They were slain by terrestrial bacteria, organisms they had zero natural immunity against. Wells flips the Victorian concept of social Darwinism. The British Empire, justifying expansion through claims of evolutionary superiority, becomes a helpless, colonized population. Humanity's survival was unearned by military or technological might. We survived solely because of our evolutionary place within Earth's biosphere. Earth's smallest organisms acted as the ultimate arbiters of planetary defense, making human triumph entirely dependent on the existing ecosystem. The story leaves behind a sense of profound humility. It suggests that humanity is a fragile species, saved only by the unseen microscopic life within our shared environment.